Okay, year 13, 5-minute revision on 9-mark questions. Always start with your specification, be aware of the kind of things you need to cover. Here we go with the first question. Explain and analyze 3 ways in which Congress can be seen as representative of the US. Alright, there's 3 options, aren't there? Representative of the people, representative of the states, representative interest groups. If you're looking at the first one, representative of the people, make sure you're explaining the role of the House of Representatives, how they represent districts, and how they're responsive through their particular electoral cycle. If you're talking about the Senate with representative of the states, you're talking about how they represent the interests of the states. Can we have examples of that? And how their electoral cycle is perhaps different to those of the House in terms of discussing its significance. And then finally, representative of the interest groups, explanation of the influence of interest groups on congressional decision making in the representative. Can we have any examples of that? Think about iron triangles in this context. Okay, second one. Explain and analyze 3 ways in which committees influence legislation in Congress. So our 3 standing committees in terms of legislation. So we're talking about their initial importance in terms of legislation. What do they do? The hearings that they have, the decisions that they make. Make sure you can explain that. An example would be good. Perhaps think about Obamacare. Then we go into the role of the House Rules Committee. How it sets the agenda in the House of Representatives, the use of open and closed rules that come out of it. The way, perhaps, if you're talking about an analysis, is different to the Senate in terms of how it can define the timings that are used. And then finally, the role of the Joint Conference Committee in defining the nature of the bill before it leaves Congress. What is that committee? How does it work? How often is it being used more recently? Okay, on to our third one. Explain and analyze 3 influence on the congressional representative. Okay, so we're here thinking about this. We've done this before with the UK. What influences the representative? Is it their constituents? Is it the political party? Is it interest groups? Okay, and that can maybe link into their own conscience as well. So we've got here, first of all, the constituency on voting decisions. We could do with some examples about how they may be influenced by the constituent interests. Their re-election cycle, they've got to think about why they've got to be highly responsive there. The issue is whether or not political parties, that's the second point, are as relevant. We know that partisanship has increased. We can give examples of how that's been shown in votes. Is that meaning that it's more relevant as a consequence? And then finally, we know interest groups are important. We've talked about how they've been important within iron triangles. Can you bring that into the influences that a congressional representative might use within perhaps committee work? There you go. Let's get on to the fourth. And it is 3 constraints Congress has on the executive branch. You've got so many you can use here. I've chosen 3, which are ratification of key appointments, control of the power of the purse, and the use of impeachment. And that's because it's so relevant at this moment in time. So if we think about the first one, ratification of key appointments, we have, of course, Biden's cabinet being chosen at this moment in time, the role of the Senate in that. We've also had some significant judicial appointments from recent times. So there's some good examples to back that up and the significance of it in terms of your analysis. Power of the purse. Show off your detailed understanding of how committees within Congress look at appropriations, taxes and the budget process, and how they can therefore control the way in which the executive can actually work. Good examples here, of course, in terms of Trump's desire to spend money on walls, but his difficulties in doing so. And finally, the use of impeachment. Again, very current. Explain the role and the process of impeachment and how it may impact upon the executive branch. Looking at Clinton, looking at Trump. Finally, explain and analyze 3 ways in which committees influence the work of Congress. 3 ways there. We're talking about the role of standing committees in the passage of legislation. As with the previous question, you're talking there about the role at the starting point. How does it influence in which way the legislation is initially shaped in comparison to what else happens throughout the legislative process? The role of standing committees in oversight of government actions. It's got the day-to-day oversight of ensuring that departments are spending and working coherently. That's a significant role. Have a look in your textbook about oversight once again, just to make sure you're clear on this. And finally, the role of select committees in investigating significant issues. Okay, so what you want to do there is you want to give you examples like Benghazi of how ad hoc committees are set up to enhance the scrutiny that can exist within Congress. There you are. 5 minutes, 5 9-mark questions. Get your preparation done. Good luck.